Remember back in August 2020 when the news hit that future Oculus headsets would all require Facebook accounts to use them? Not long before that, HTC had planned to withdraw from consumer VR after the failures of the Vive Pro and Cosmos headsets. But then they hit back at the news with a cheeky hold my beer kind of tweet, as if to say, hey, please come back, you don't need Facebook to use Vive headsets. But all they did was try to convince people that the Vive Cosmos Elite was actually worth the money. It wasn't. Obviously they've done something since then, but have finally made their big move by announcing the new Vive Flow last week. I have to say it looks great and the kind of thing that people want in VR's future, but is it actually any good? Is it something that could compete with the Quest 2 or whatever Oculus released next, or is it something that's going to end up being totally pointless and irrelevant? Let's find out. Hello and welcome back to the VRC for a nice slice of tech and a healthy portion of VR discussion and accessory reviewage. Don't forget to subscribe if you like that kind of stuff and hit the bell. And if you do like VR and Quest 2 accessories, then you'll love my VR buddies Kiwi Design, who are the lovely sponsors of this video. They make some of the best accessories for even the not so best headsets, and of course some great stuff for the Quest 2, including the Chuck Norris of Quest 2 straps, their amazing Elite strap, which we actually strength tested last week, and let me tell you, that strap is tough, unlike the Oculus Elite strap. Check out the channel for that video. By the way, that's proof that I'm not an Oculus fanboy, which will be handy for this video. They never made me an ambassador. As well as probably the best strap for your Quest 2, they also make the best grips for the Quest 2 too. They not only help you protect your controllers, but they also let you let go of them but keep them attached to your hands, and they also have little doors, which means you don't have to keep pulling them off every time you need to change your batteries. They are seriously brilliant accessory manufacturers, and there's a link to their site below, as well as the code VRC to get an extra 5% off their amazing stuff. But actually, if you hurry, you can get 25% off all their stuff this Halloween using codes that are on the site right now. So back to the Vive Flow. Let's take a quick look at the specs compared to the Quest 2 before we come up with our own verdict of whether it's worth getting. Since I am a small fry, HTC, just like Oculus, do not recognize my existence, so I actually haven't had one in my hands. Sorry if that offends anyone, but I think you'll agree that anyone with a few IQ points can make up their own mind based on the specs.
You have to see it for yourself.
Shut it, Morpheus! First, the lowdown. What is the Vive Flow? Well, it's a small form factor standalone VR headset that weighs in at 189 grams, which is damn light for a VR headset, and is just what people wanted, since the Quest 2 at 503 grams, despite being quite a bit smaller than the Quest 1, is still a bit heavy for some people. So, since it's standalone, that means you don't need a PC. It is totally self-contained. The Vive Flow, unlike the Quest 2 with straps that basically bolt it to your head, is more like a large pair of glasses. Again, extremely cool. So far so good. It's small and light. Perfect. The field of view is said to be up to 100 degrees, which actually might be a bit bigger than the Quest 2. It's hard to say since they say up to. It might be that you have to remove the little pad thing to get the max field of view, which would compromise light leakage and immersion. Don't forget, field of view is basically how much you can see in your field of vision. Quest 2 seems to be around 90 to 100, and the relatively low field of view is one of the things that people want improved for the next Quest. So considering field of view is about the same, maybe a little more, what are the screens like? Well, they are LCD screens, which means they'll have the same issue with black levels that the Quest 2 has, in that blacks are more like a dark grey, since the display always has a light shining through it. The resolution of the Vive Flow is 1600 by 1600 per eye. The Quest 2 is 1832 by 1920 per eye. So that's quite a bit more. Coupled with the field of view of the Vive Flow possibly being a little bit larger, that further decreases the pixel density compared to the Quest 2. In fact, the resolution of the Vive Flow is only a little more than the Quest 1, which was 1440 by 1600 per eye. However, let's not forget the LCD screen does add extra sharpness compared to the OLED in the Quest 1. Still, do we really want to hear that a new VR headset for 2022 is going to go backwards in resolution? It also has a refresh rate of 75 Hz, quite a bit lower than the Quest 2's stable 90Hz and experimental 120Hz. Man, I hope this thing isn't designed for media consumption. That would really suck. So let's take a look at what powers this device. It features a Qualcomm XR1 chipset, which is a generation behind the XR2 inside the Quest 2. It has 64GB of storage, which is the same size as the entry-level Quest 2s that Oculus just scrapped in favour of 128GB. It also has 4GB of RAM, which is 2GB less than the 6 in the Quest 2. Man, I hope this thing isn't designed for gaming. That would really suck. So, it doesn't really sound like good news. The visual specs suggest it wouldn't be better than a Quest 2 at watching things, and also it wouldn't be better at playing things. And let's not forget, this is totally ignoring the fact that we're probably not far away from a Quest 2 successor. So, if the Vive Flow isn't meant for media consumption, but also isn't meant for playing games, what is it meant for? Well, apparently it is actually meant for media consumption, but for people who don't really want the hassle of putting on a headset and holding controllers. That's right, there's also no controllers. Instead, you can use your phone. You can point with it and you can click your phone screen, and all of a sudden I'm thinking of the controller that I had for my last Gear VR before Samsung decided I wasn't allowed to use it anymore. Thankfully, the Vive Flow does have 2 cameras to allow for 6 degrees of freedom inside-out tracking, i.e. the headset will be able to tell if we move our heads and phones forwards and backwards, left and right, up and down. The Gear VR and Oculus Go could only tell if you were rotating. That's 3 degrees of freedom. But still, the controller for the Go and Gear VR was actually quite nice. I don't really want to be holding my beast of a phone all the time. In fact, I'm not even sure I can hold it without the pop socket anymore. So suddenly, this super light headset also has potentially a super heavy and cumbersome controller. With only 2 cameras, I don't really hold any hope for any decent hand tracking, which would be a shame because hand tracking would make a lot of sense for a device just like this. Oh, and I forgot to mention the battery. Well, the battery will keep the flow going for 5 minutes. Yeah, you heard that right, 5 minutes. Basically, the main reason it's so light is that it doesn't have a proper battery. You have to bring your own. Bring your own drinks. So this self-contained standalone wireless headset does require a wire connected to a battery that presumably is going to sit in your pocket, since if you leave it on the table, you will hit it with your giant phone. Remember, this is for people who don't want the hassle of a proper VR headset. But sorry, we have some hassle here. The Flow comes with a nice carry case, so you can fling it in your bag, but don't forget the big battery as well. Fling that in there as well with its own case. And let's talk about that form factor. I wear glasses. I do this a lot. For that reason, I'm not currently wearing my glasses. These are heavier than glasses. Trust me, you're going to be doing that, that a lot more than I do in my normal glasses. And plus, anyone who's been here before knows just how important a top strap is on a Quest 2. You need to be looking through the right part of the lenses, and having a top strap keeps it in the right position. A glasses style form factor is going to be a nightmare, and yes, bring even more hassle. Also, since they sort of look like glasses and not a VR headset, you're going to look a bit silly. Because at least if someone is questing in public, you look silly, but people at least know that you're doing some VR. If you wear these, people just think you're doing some Star Wars cosplay from the crappy films, which amazingly is no longer the prequels. I'll tell you something they do have though that's pretty cool. You can adjust the lenses, so if you're short-sighted, you can give them a little twist, put them back on and hope they're in focus, and if not, you can take them off and you can try again. I suppose this means you're not meant to wear your glasses under the glasses though, like a visually impaired Russian doll. I'm not sure that made sense, but it sounded pretty good. So that's a cool feature, except no one really asked for it, and it's going to add to the cost of the headset. Plus, a lot of people who need lenses in their headsets also have to account for things like stigmatisms and other visual ailments, things that companies like VR Wave would account for when making their lens inserts. This is probably going to help relatively few people. Ironically, it would help me. But the biggest crime is that they have this feature, but you can't adjust IPD. That's right, no IPD adjustment, meaning anyone with eyes further apart or closer together than the average Joe normal eyes is going to struggle to use the Vive Flow. Now, maybe they've got flatter lenses, meaning a bigger sweet spot, but there's still going to be a hefty amount of people that simply are incompatible with it. So, how much is it? No controllers, no battery, weaker specs, lower resolution. So if the Quest 2 is $299, the Vive Focus must be about $199? Yeah, let's call it $249 since it is light and it looks cool. No. £499. £499 for something that literally does nothing the Quest 2 can already do, but for a lot less. Damn. Now you can't really hold it against HTC, well you can if you want, but of course they have to sell it at a price which will make them money since they don't have the whole Facebook account requirement thing that allows them to make tons of money from targeted ads. They just don't have the financial power that Facebook does. The idea that Facebook sells their Quest 2s at a loss compared to manufacturing costs is a bit of a rumour still, but surely this pretty much confirms it. £200 more than a much more powerful headset that does all it can do but better. Don't forget, if you've enabled hand tracking on the Quest 2, then it is just as chuckable in a bagable as the Vive Flow, if not more so. And if you're chucking in bags, then you've got to make sure you're going somewhere with an internet connection, otherwise you're going to be relying on your mobile hotspot and using up your data, or just watching episodes of Lost you got from torrents 10 years ago.
Don't tell me what I can't do!
Ooh, 15 years ago? So really, who is it aimed at? The only people I can think of that pay a lot more money for things that are less powerful are the Apple crowd. Now, I am an Android user, but the iPhone 3G was my first touchscreen and I loved it. I totally get why people pay for Apple products, so I'm not dissing, making fun of them. But HTC would need a damn smooth software experience if they hope to attract that crowd. And trust me, that crowd doesn't want to keep a battery in their pocket. Oh, and maybe a bit of a deal breaker, they also don't want to buy an Android phone in order to use it. That's right, the Vive Flow only works with Android phones. So in conclusion, by not being compatible with iPhones and people with large or small IPDs, they have discounted maybe 60% of potential users. Yeah, I did pull that number.
Jesus Christ.
And from the 40% that are left, they're aiming the Vive Flow at nobody. So with the HTC's obvious need to self-destruct, I'm getting a bit of a Ted Lasso vibe, which incidentally is only available on Apple TV, so it's not aimed at fans of that show either. Shame, because they do love an underdog. But with the Vive Flow, it does seem that HTC don't want to be the underdog. Everyone loves the underdog. They want to be the flea that holds onto the hair underneath the underdog. That's not even a thing, so maybe it's aimed at people who love the underdog flea. Second thoughts, it's probably not aimed at them either. Anyway, that's it. So the Vive Flow, it seems pretty much pointless. If you enjoyed that video or found it useful, then don't forget to hit the like button. Apparently if I get to 100 likes, I'll be able to feed my cats. Thanks for sticking around though. If you're still here, you are amazing. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and comments below. Don't forget, I'm not anti-HTC at all, and I'm not a fanboy of Oculus, like I said before. And I could be totally wrong. It could be absolutely amazing. But thanks again for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I hope to see you next time. See ya!